So this video discusses how to use the Cloud9 interface on the Beagleboard to access the shell command line. So note that this is for the version 10.3, the Debian 10.3 version from 2020. So that's the version that we're using here. So it has Cloud9 already installed. So to get to that from our local machine, we want to connect to the Beaglebone to the port 80, which is the default HTTP port. So we're going to type in our 192.168.7.2, and then we can either leave off and don't put any colon port number there, or you can force it to port 80 by typing :80. So especially if you're using like the Edge web browser, it tries to force you to the encrypted port, and that will not work. So you have to go to port 80, and this loads up the Cloud9. Again, this is for the version 2020 of the Beaglebone. So this is the Beaglebone Black, and this interface is actually designed for creating programs and executing programs of multiple different programming languages and stuff. But one of the things that it does is it gives you access to the bash shell. So when you connect to this Cloud9, it's pulls up in the lower section here is a bash shell, which allows you to just type in commands, and by default it throws you in this var lib cloud9 directory. So and you're also logged in automatically as the user Debian, okay, which has a user ID of 1000. So this is just like the default account that they set up for you on the Beaglebone. And I tried the who am I command. That works on some versions of Linux, but apparently they don't have it installed on the Beaglebone, probably due to lack of space. But if you want to become the SuperUser, then you can use the sudo command. If you're familiar with any Linux, you may be familiar with this command. This stands for do SuperUser. So SuperUser is the term that they give the administrative account. It's also known as the root account on the system. So if you run sudo, you can run a command as this SuperUser administrator called root. And for a lot of commands, you can just do sudo and then just run that one command and it'll work fine. But some commands, depending on the setup of them, won't work completely unless you actually become root. So to become root, you run the sudo command, and then you do a sudo, an su for SuperUser, and then a dash. And notice the space here. You need at least one space. I have a couple, that's fine, but you need at least one space here between each one of these. Now the dash, what the dash does is it pulls in the environment to make sure that you can find the administrative accounts. So if you leave that off, you can still do the SuperUser commands, but it will not pull in the environment, so it may not be able to find them appropriately, some of them that you might want. So I like to do that. And now when you do this on the Beaglebone, the default password for the sudo command is temp password. So TEMP PWD. I think I may have mistyped. Oh no, it worked there. Okay, so so now you can see that I am the root user, okay, which is the SuperUser. And so as the SuperUser, you have permission to do pretty much everything on the machine. This is the highest authority you can have on the machine. And again, a lot of times you can just like do sudo and then just like run one command as the super user, and a lot of people say, oh, you should always do that. But there are some commands that do not work that way because of the setup of how the command is. And if I have a chance, I'll maybe do a video on that later. But this is the root user account here, I could say, which is known as the super user. That's why they use the SU there for super user.